Ken Trahan along with Lenny Vangilder. It's our First NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNOLA.com. Pro Bowl's history, I didn't watch. Glad to see Drew Brees threw a touchdown and did well. The game actually was somewhat competitive, and maybe, Lenny, it lends itself to two things. One, get rid of all the stupidity they've had in the past with honorary captains and picking players. They went back to the conferences. There's still a degree of pride involved in that, and they played the game a little bit harder and competed. Good to see Kirk Cousins hustling down somebody after he threw an interception. So maybe they found somewhat of a solution here. Play the game at different venues. There were more fans there, and go by conferences and don't get in all this foolishness with all making fun of it, basically, with what they did previously.
I got a feeling this thing's staying in Orlando for a little while, and here's why. You know, Honolulu was great, don't get me wrong. It was a great place for these guys as a reward after your year is over. You know, bring some people with you. It's a great vacation spot. Orlando is more family-friendly, as we all know, and that, I think, plays well. Plus, you've got three fan bases that are within driving distance to draw from to get people there, and it is a destination. So, you know, instead of just having to depend on people who are on the island or a few people who may make the trip over, now you've got Tampa, Jacksonville, Miami, all very drivable. And more to that, heck, it's only 10 hours from New Orleans. If people want to go over, and check it out from there. Ideally, there are no Saints playing in the game come next year when the Saints are in the Super Bowl, but we digress there, right? All right.
Yeah, Atlanta's not too far either, but they're not represented, or at least weren't represented in the Pro Bowl given the circumstances that currently exist. Looks like the Saints have lost another coach, so Sean Payton has a lot of work on his hand to fill his staff.
Now, what's interesting to me is this. Can he get Curtis Johnson from Chicago? We don't know what CJ's contract situation would be. Of course, he just went up there for the first year this year. You know, is that a possibility? Someone else out there that could be a possibility, maybe, could end up in that spot. So, yeah, that's just one more hire he's got to make. Obviously, a lot of hires on defense and special teams. This is the one he's got to make on offense, with Morton apparently going to the Jets as offensive coordinator.
Yeah, Senior Bowl history, of course, some local representation with guys playing. Trey White didn't play, but the others who did a solid job, and I don't think anybody hurt their draft status. If anything, maybe one or two perhaps helped their draft status, and that would be along the lines of Duke Riley and Tanzel Smart.
Certainly, and the chance to get there, and obviously this is the one bowl game that all of the pro coaches, the scouts, all tend to migrate to. They're there at the others, but they're really there all Senior Bowl week and really getting a chance to examine what is going on. So for the LSU guys who are there, and Trey White's injury turned out to be a gift, if you will, for Dwayne Thomas, who ended up getting to go down there and play in the game. Let's see how it all plays out. And, the wide receiver from Louisiana Tech, Trent Taylor, watch him sneaking up on some boards as well.
Yeah, he's quick. I don't care how big he is. He can do some things on special teams, and maybe in the slot could be a guy that could play some. And he's a good-looking player. He's defied the odds every step of the way. With regard to high school sports, of course, another good week. We've had some good stuff that we've had on radio and on the website as well. It'll be another good week, and we're approaching some state champions, so we're getting closer to the state championships in wrestling, state championships in soccer. So we're moving right along, and we're starting to get a clearer picture of both of those sports.
We are, and of course this is a really big week for high school football seniors who are going to go to college. And stay with us right here at SportsNOLA.com. We will have full coverage of National Signing Day on Wednesday. No other place than you want to be. Just bookmark the page now. Come back to it early and often on Wednesday. We'll have interviews with all the top players from Southeast Louisiana who are heading on to four-year schools. And, of course, Wednesday night at 6, it's our National Signing Day special, and Prep Recruiting Insider Rick and Renee will break it all down, have even more interviews. You want to check that out Wednesday night at 6 on WHNO TV 20.
I was saving that for last, but you stole my thunder, so it's all good.
It's all good.
No worries. By the way, a national, international level shout-out to Serena Williams and to Roger Federer. Just unbelievable story in tennis to see what they accomplish at their age. And Serena, to me, is the best player in the history of women's tennis. I don't care if she's one short of Margaret Court at this stage. She's done it in the Open era, and it's a totally different animal considering the competition. And with regard to Federer, I think at this point it's safe to say at this point in time he's the greatest male player in the history of men's tennis.
I would agree on both fronts. And look, I think it's something good, for those of us who are a little bit up in age out there. Just saying, you got 4 finalists in an open Grand Slam event, all over 30, and 2 champions that are 35 and older. So that's pretty extraordinary. And look, tennis is a sport. I mean, of those types of sports out there. I mean, obviously you see it happen in golf at a later age. We all remember Jack Nicklaus at the Masters in 1986, winning at age 46. Tom Watson nearly winning the Open Championship at age 59. So it can happen at a later age in a sport like golf, more of a lifetime sport. Tennis, generally, once you hit age 30, your career is pretty much toast. But look at what Serena and what Federer have done, and that's a great sign for those people. And those stories of the older people, succeeding at a later age in these events. We all remember Jimmy Connors at the U.S. Open at one year. Those are just great stories that people gravitate to.
And I'd be remiss not to mention the Pelicans finished their homestand 3-3, up, down, up, down, up, down, and listen, some good wins, encouraging, but at the end of the homestand, really no real progress by and large in terms of chasing that final playoff spot.
In fact, probably lost ground because now Denver is 3 clear of the Pelicans for the 8th spot. You've got another team to catch in front of you. And the game. And here's the thing: you're running out of games. You keep win loss like you said. That's all well and good, and that you're not necessarily losing ground as it relates to 500, but you're losing games on the back end of the schedule. And they've got a road trip on the road for 3 this week, while Cirque du Soleil takes over the Smoothie King Center. So they're back in town. Really, but I think there's only 3 home games between now and the end of February. So it's going to get a little bit tougher because you're going to have to do some things on the road.
That's our First NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank. First NBC Bank is a proud sponsor of SportsNOLA.com. Have a good weekend.
All right.
Have a good week.
We got
have a good weekend, too.
Yeah, we'll have a busy
week.
Yeah, and we'll
have a good year.
We'll see you
a good
this
month.
week.
All right, you got it. Here's Lenny. I'm Kenny. You're you. Thanks for joining us, and God bless you.